up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we have part 2 for you guys. So if you haven't watched part 1 yet, go back to last week's video. Make sure you watch part 1. This will make a lot more sense in today's video if you do. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and dive straight into part 2. So as promised, we're doing another video on some bull snake morphs, genetics, and stuff like that, you know. But it'll still help with like basic knowledge of bull snakes and how some of these combos work. And that's exactly what we're going to talk about a little bit today is combos, which is super exciting. So last week we did basics, you know, just the bear, single gene animals, pretty much all of them almost. And today we're going to start with just some 2 combo genes or 2 combo morphs, I guess. And I have a nice spread on the table. So we'll see how we do here. So let's start all the way over here on this end. All right, so let's go ahead and I'll just kind of stack these up a little bit according to when we'll talk about them. That way we just got a little space here to work, right? Yes. Okay, all right, so I have these 3 animals right here in front of me. And fun fact is they're all ghosts. So these are all hypoxanthics. And even funner fact is that 2 of these are the same strain for the hypo and the axanthic line. Can you guess which 2 are the same? Yeah, probably a lot of people are saying that these 2 are the same. Okay, these 2 right here are actually the same strain. So both of these over here are Trumbauer hypos and Balaam axanthics. This one over here is the Stillwater Miami. So the Stillwater hypo, Miami axanthic. And anyway, I brought both of these examples out, and we'll talk about these ones first just quickly, because there is a huge variation between how these genes can present themselves. And sometimes that can be really confusing for people because obviously these 2 look totally different. Totally different. If we take the lids off, I don't know if it's reflecting really bad or not, but this guy definitely wants to be a little bit of a punk, so we'll just hope he holds still for just a minute or 2. Anyway, so what I'm just going to refer to right now is this will be the dark phase on the top, you know, the one that's trying to eat me. And then this will be the light phase down here. So, as I said, both of these are Trumbauer hypo, and both of them are Balaam axanthic, and that is a for sure thing. This bottom one, the light phase, is actually, well, that was from my snow, my hypo snow. But she is the one that kind of first gave me that caramel looking hypo, that really cool Trumbauer that we're calling caramel now. And there's been some really unique things that have kind of come out of her clutches. And so this one is another one from her. And I don't know if it is more of the caramel kind of look that's coming through and we're seeing it in a ghost form. But there are definitely some from her clutch that do look rather unique. And some of the other caramel ones this year also produced some lighter looking ghosts like this, which is cool. So there's definitely some sort of light phase and some sort of dark phase. A lot of the Trumbauer Balaams that you guys see are going to be more of the dark phase. I grabbed this one specifically because it's way darker. There are some that are more of a, you know, in-between kind of look that are not, you know, so drastically different. But anyways, most of your typical Balaam babies, the Trumbauer Balaams will look something like this, where they kind of have more of that, I don't know, bluish look to them instead of more of this like pinkish lavendery hue. I don't know what to call it exactly, but anyway, so big differences there for sure. And then if we want to go ahead and just compare over here to the Miami, so this one is so there's also, I would say, 2 different kind of looks to the Miami phase as well. This is just the only other baby I have left right now, which I would call this one more of the darker phase for the Miami Stillwater. And the lighter phase is more of that really the high yellow look that I've been able to replicate. Essentially just the space between the saddles is much wider, and so you get way more of the silvery color coming through, and it's really, really neat. Maybe I could grab the yearling really quick and just show.
Sure.
Really fast. She was looking at me like she wanted something, but So this is last year's, and I know it's probably a little bit harder to tell, but you can see that the spacing between her saddles is much wider. And so these ones, they're just a little bit different. I would call them a lighter phase. The other ones tend to be darker, and there's just more darkness because the saddles are closer together. So it just looks different. And I wish I had a better comparison to show you, but I did produce some of these lighter phase babies this year. They're just all gone. They're very popular. Kind of flew out the door. So, anyways, but this is a year of growth on one of them, and you can see that the same thing will start to happen though when you get the darks will get darker as they grow, and the lights will get lighter as they grow. So, pretty awesome looking there. Anyway, let me go put this one away. Alright, so you were able to at least see some nice differences between the two. They're getting pretty feisty right now, since there was a lot of movement there. But clearly there's some pretty big differences between the two. I know that the color might be kind of hard to really pick up through the camera lens, but if we can just at least compare these one more time. There is similar characteristics, of course, because guess what? They're both axanthic and they're both hypo. So obviously there's some similarities, but also there's some big differences between like the color palette. Whereas, like I've said before, your Miami axanthic, which is on your guys' right, is much more of like a grayscale. Hardly any color, really. It's more of just like your grays, your silvers, your blacks. Yeah, there's a little bit of some other color. I don't know what I'd really call it. But anyway, but on the right, on your left, my right, is the Ballum Trumbauer, and there's clearly more actual color. It's not just a grayscale. There's definitely purples coming through. The Ballum is known for more of its blue hues, and some of the ghosts do get some blue hues kind of coming through. There's like some, maybe a little bit up on the head area, but lots more like of the chocolate browns and stuff like we've mentioned before, instead of more of just like your blacks and whites, and grays. And so anyways, pretty neat, pretty cool differences. And obviously this really light face colored one, totally different looking. Just super cool. I actually have been raising one up that was a light face, and she's looking really, really cool. She stayed pretty light, but also did develop more of that like the black outlining contrast, especially up on her neck. She's really neat. But anyway, she might even produce next year, maybe, which would be pretty cool. I want to see if we can make more that are really pretty like that. So, all right, let's move on to something else. Okay, I have this other 3 stack here, which is rather interesting, and a little confusing, to be honest. So, these are all albinos, but 2 of them are a hypoalbino, and one of them is not. Can you guess which one? It's going to be something very similar to the last time. You guys are probably going to guess something along the lines of, those must be the hypos and this must not be, because that's what the difference looks like, right? Well, I'm sorry to tell you, but you're wrong again if you did think that. If you guessed correctly, congratulations, because these 2 are actually the hypos, and this is the normal. So, let's go over this real quick. Last week I did have out just a very, very normal looking albino. Fortunately, that one did sell and I shipped it out. So I don't actually have that one anymore. But it was a great example of what just a very plain looking albino looks like. So this week I had to kind of use this one. So this is your plain albino. It does have some red influence in it. It's not just a straight red albino though. But it definitely has a lot of red heritage, you could say. But anyways, so this is from a breeding, though, from a Hannum hypo. So it's a het Hannum hypo. So there could definitely be some of that influence kind of coming through that we're seeing here. So not quite as plain as I could get. Sorry. But it's what we're working with today. So, that's your plain albino, okay? These are both hypos from different strains, which is pretty fun. I don't have a Stillwater albino. Nope, I don't have one. But what we have here is a Trumbauer hypo albino, and this one is actually a Hannum albino, and he is incredible. We'll take a really close look at him in just a minute, but let's go ahead and check out this one really fast. So funny enough, this looks super ordinary for an albino, but it really is a hypo. Both parents of this breeding were hypos, so I know for a fact this is a hypo albino. The thing I always tell people is you really can't guarantee an albino's hypo unless you know for sure that there was visual hypos on both sides. Okay, that's very important. Mislabeling things is, bad juju. We don't do that. We try really hard not to do that here. And so I will only say pos or het hypo if there wasn't both visual parents. If there's both visual parents, I already know everything in the clutch is hypo. Makes it really straightforward, super easy. But if there's not, then it'd only be a pos hypo, or a het hypo is how I would label them, and that's how I'd recommend to everybody else to label them as well. Because there is really no way for you to actually tell if an albino is hypo or not. So that is my personal and, if we can call me a professional, I suppose, professional opinion on the matter. So anyway, but, maybe in a future video we'll try and do a better comparison of just a normal albino to a hypo albino to prove my point even a little bit more. Obviously this isn't the most perfect example, but I've hatched plenty of normal albinos that look very similar to this. I've hatched plenty that have even more red coloration, or are even lighter than this, but they're normal, or some are hypo. Anyway, just make sure you label your stuff correctly. Alright, but let's go ahead and take a look at this guy. This guy is, he's so cool. I'm not actually keeping him. So if one of you are interested in this guy, he is gonna be absolutely gorgeous. He has like the coolest pattern. He's got a lot of white coming through, which is really, really neat. That's definitely some more of that Hannum influence going on it, I think. But he has just the prettiest like red, orange, yellow, white combo going all the way down to him. He's just super unique looking, really pretty. Probably one of the prettiest Hannum albinos I've ever produced, actually. He's incredible. So, yeah, anyways. So these two, though, look way more similar. And I would say that a lot of that just has to do with the red influence. But again, this is guaranteed to be a normal albino. That's guaranteed to be a hypo albino. So big differences there. Obviously, the Hannum is definitely playing a role here. And then comparing the two hypos together, obviously, you can tell even without the lids coming off, huge differences here. And we'll try not to let them kind of attack each other here. But huge differences between those two lines. Pretty much all the Hannum albinos will look unique from like the Trumbauer. Even the Stillwater ones. I've kind of tended to see the Stillwater ones look way more yellow. But I haven't worked with very many of them either. I feel like Stillwater's isn't always worked into a lot of stuff. So anyway, biggest takeaway from the albino stuff is you really can't tell if it's hypo or not unless you know it was a visual-to-visual breeding. So just be careful. And if you're looking at a hypo albino, maybe you should ask what the parents were so that you know for sure. Okay, moving on. All right, let's do these next two. Okay, what I have in front of me are some nice white side combos. And we've got one's Trumbauer and one's Stillwater. So I'll let you guys just take a quick look at both, and then I guarantee some of you guys should be able to get this. But for funsies, I'll give you guys a minute just to, guess in your own head, right? I had to tell Spencer which one was which before, so. You're right, Spencer's the expert, actually. Spencer had to tell me.
That's right.
Anyways, so over here is our Trumbauer. So this guy's actually the Trumbauer hypo. And this one on this side is the Stillwater hypo. Insane how different they both look. Just crazy. Crazy, crazy. This is a particularly pretty Trumbauer white side over here. He has some of the best purple and yellows that I've been able to produce. I really think he'll be a knockout as an adult. He was seriously almost a holdback, but we'll just say Spencer. I'm just kidding. It wasn't really Spencer. It was me. I decided I just can't hold everything back. But it makes it really fun for people like you guys that get to purchase one of these animals and then watch them grow and develop. And that is super, super exciting. I think he's seriously going to be so incredibly pretty when he grows up. This guy is from one of the caramel breedings. And so I think that's part of why his color is just incredible. So he's gonna be a stud, really. So anyway, I expect that his purples will actually get a little bit brighter. I expect his yellows to get a little bit brighter. And I expect him to have black that kind of comes through, well, not a true black, but the darkness that'll kind of come through a little bit more, surrounding at least his like upper third, his neck area and stuff. He has a little bit right now that you can kind of see, but yeah, and then I expect his tail, I expect those saddles to actually go darker down there, so there's an even better contrast between the saddles and the yellow. Anyways, it's going to be really neat. That would be one that I would sell to somebody, and I would hopefully get them to send me an update in a couple years when he matures more. But incredible looking. The Stillwater over here, this is a nice male right here. This actually came out of a breeding from one of Glenn's animals. I got the female from him anyway, and one of the big things about the Stillwater white sides is, I don't know if we can kind of get a good look, maybe if I just get him up in the light a little more, is they actually have red pupils. Not sure if the camera's capturing it. Maybe? Yeah? So, really neat thing. Most Stillwaters have the red pupils. In fact, maybe all do. I originally thought that my adult female was a Stillwater. That's what she was sold to me as, but the breeding resulted in not 100% hypos. Really awkward. So through that breeding, I found out that she's actually a Trumbauer, het for Stillwater, which is pretty fun, because I bred her to a Stillwater. So we found that out, which is great, but she was able to still produce these beautiful looking animals. And how different are those two? I mean, just completely different, but both very pretty in their own way. Both have great contrast. Obviously, this caramel line has a lot of color going on, so I think that's a big influencer there, but really, really neat. A lot of your Trumbauer white sides, if we can just, here, let me pick you up. If you can look at his eyes, a lot of them will have like a greenish sort of eye. Oh, he caught you looking, huh? Get him to go sideways right there. A lot of them have like a greenish kind of eye, maybe a little bit of bluish in there, but really, really pretty. Super cool. So, big differences there. Really fun to kind of see the side-by-side comparison, obviously. You know, you got your really white heads, the very light colored body. Really cool. Really cool animals. So, pretty fun comparison there. Okay, we got a bunch of patternless stuff to look at next. So, we've got 6 different patternless over here. And we brought out a normal patternless and then 5 other combo patternless to just be able to compare and show you guys kind of what we're looking at here, help you guys kind of see the differences between them. Yeah, it'll be fun. So, all right, we have our plain Jane patternless. This one actually is a girl. This is a different one than last week's video. Maybe this girl will cooperate just a little bit more for us. We'll see. Last week, he was a little grumpy, so. Anyway, okay. Super plain, normal patternless. Yeah, very brown, kind of drabish looking. No offense, girl. All right, let's go ahead and put that up next to this one, shall we? Okay. All right, what's everybody's guesses? What is that? Okay, should be maybe kind of obvious. But anyways, so this one over here is a hypo patternless. And this one is a Trumbower line, actually, which might surprise a lot of people because actually surprised me too. This is a very, very pretty example of a Trumbower hypo patternless. They are not all that color. This one is particularly nice. Most are not quite that bright and vibrant. Still really pretty, but you don't find as many that are this nice looking. So that's a really nice example. She has the coolest, like, kind of pink up on her head, which is really neat. She actually came from our big adult girl named Peach. I don't know. I know we've probably talked about her in the past. I'm sure we've probably shown her in a video. It's probably been a while. But anyway, Peach is a Trumbower hypo, and she looks just totally different than my other Trumbower hypos I have. She reminds me of a peach, that's why I call her that. But anyways, really pretty. And her babies this year were just absolutely stunning. So was really excited to see her clutch this year. She produced some gorgeous looking patternless, which we didn't even know she was patternless. So it was a very happy surprise to be able to produce some hypo patternless out of her. And we got this really nice looking one and pretty exciting. So anyways, this girl just wants to cruise. I wish that we could just look at you. So that's the Trumbower line. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. This will be pretty stark difference here. So this, my goodness, we just want to look at both of you, okay? This is the Stillwater hypo patternless. So this one obviously, yes, did come with more of a red kind of coloration, you could say. Well, hello. So there's definitely a lot of orange influence going on here, but most of your Stillwaters typically would kind of turn out more looking like that. I really think, and you guys tell me what you think, I really think it'd be cool if I worked my high yellow Stillwater line into a patternless and could make like a really beautiful looking, like solid yellow patternless. Would that be cool? Let me know in the comments. I think it'd be really kind of neat. You don't really see like just a bright yellow solid snake. Yes, there's the albinos, and some albinos can look like that, but not all of them. So anyway, so those three, that's a great comparison right there. So you've got your normal patternless, your Trumbower hypo, and your Stillwater hypo. Nice. Big differences between all three. Really easy to see the comparison when they're all just right next to each other like that. That's gotta be pretty fun. That's pretty cool to look at even for me. I don't really look at them side by side like that. So that's really neat. Really cool. Okay, so let's go ahead and put these hypos off to the side for a minute. Okay? And then let's bring on one that we did mention. Okay, so we mentioned the albino. Okay, so we brought out, this is actually one of my holdback albinos this year. So between a normal to an albino patternless, wow, super easy to tell. Obviously, the albino has the red eyes. Okay, yeah, pretty easy to be like, okay, we know what's going on here. This girl was super clean looking. I am actually kind of working on a project where I'll hopefully be able to produce some really nice red albino patternless. So she's being used for that project in the future at some point. So anyways, that's something I think would be really awesome too, is just like a solid, really red snake. Would that be cool? Let me know in the comments. Anyways, pretty fun project. We'll see if it ever turns into anything. It's a long time since red is, that line bred trait. You gotta take time to breed into anything, so we'll see how it goes. Anyway, just gonna seal that a little. So there's the albino. The albino next to the Stillwater, they do kind of look a little similar, honestly. Pretty close color palette, just because that Stillwater has so much orange in it. But obviously the eyes dead giveaway on the eyes and everything. Also, the albino has way more yellow background, whereas the Stillwater does not really have that yellow background. So, easy to spot those differences there. And then compared to the Trumbower line, you can easily spot those differences. I mean, albinos are just easy to spot. Obviously, it's an albino, has red eyes. Okay, got it, So, anyways, easy in my mind, I guess, right? But red eyes, come on, it's a giveaway. All right. Okay, let's look at this guy. This guy's actually really neat. I picked this one because he's really cool. This is a patternless white side. So we're gonna go with that. He's got those high white walls. I know we talked about like some different white sides last time. You know how there was kind of like the Ballum white side and then Trumbauer white side. This guy obviously would be more from that Trumbauer line of white side. He is super cool. He's got a lot of white on his head, which is really neat. And he's got great white, like all around. Really nice looking. So, but he is just, as far as I know, he's not hypo. It is sometimes hard to tell hypo patternless white sides from normal patternless white sides. However, in this case, in my mind, there was no other hypos in this clutch. So I'm not calling him hypo. But he's really nice looking. And comparing these two, you do kind of look at it and go, okay, well, he's a way lighter, normal color than the normal patternless. But again, I'm not buying that he's hypo. Because I did produce some actual hypos, and they looked even better than that. Hey, wow. So anyways, I'm pretty sure he's just normal patternless white side. Pos hypo or het hypo, which is great. Either way, I really think that project of the high white walls with that patternless background could be super awesome, really fun project to pursue for somebody. Maybe I'm already pursuing it a little, but not as heavy since I have a lot of other projects going on. So he would make a great addition to a project like that, though, for anybody that is interested in that. And he'll probably just be a stud, He'll look really cool. All right. The last one. What? Some of these lids, I don't think they go with these cups. The last one is another really easy one to kind of see differences here. So, of course, this is an axanthic patternless. This is a Ballum axanthic. And I don't actually have it in Miami patternless yet. That's a project I'm actually working on. You really don't see them. In certain things, the Miami line is just not really put into. Same with like Stillwater. I feel like Stillwater's just not heavily into a lot of stuff. The biggest things you really see is the Ballum and the Trumbauer. And so the Miami ones, I have seen one before. They are more silver. The Ballums, like we've said before, they have more of that blue hue to them. The blue and kind of the purple, if you will. And the Miami line is definitely more of like the silver, gray, kind of coloration. So I wish I had one of those to show you that good example of, but I just don't yet. Hopefully in the coming years, I will have one to be able to show you guys. So anyways, pretty awesome looking though. This girl wants to cruise right now. We'll just cruise on right back in here. Maybe? Nope. Okay, well, all right, there we go. Thanks, girl. So, pretty cool comparison to see all those different animals next to each other. Crazy enough, this is just, tip of the iceberg as far as combos go. These were only 2-gene animals, and this isn't even all of the 2-gene animals. I was telling Spencer, I was like, well, I don't have all of the other, like, hypo combos or any of the red combos out here. I don't know, there was something else too. Oh, I didn't show any tigers in this video. Oops. Anyway, so guess what? That means there's gonna be a part 3. Yes, that's right. So anyway, that's gonna pretty much conclude this video though. So I hope that also helped you guys kind of see some cool differences between things. Remember, all of the morphs that we did just show you are all recessive. So it has to come from both sides to be able to create a visual. So these are kind of a big deal. You have double recessives. That takes a lot of time to kind of actually be able to replicate. So good stuff going on there. Again, if you actually saw anything you liked in this video and you're interested in purchasing it, please send us a message or an email. a lot of these are actually up for sale right now. So hit us up. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time for part 3.